So we need to make this equal to a function, and then we just pull down our brackets there as we usually would write a function. However, obviously we don't give a name to our function here, we just leave it as function. Okay, so down here is our or function or plugin contents. So in this case, the plugin is just literally going to replace or create a target based on what it already is. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is just say alert. I'm just going to alert working out. So what we're going to do is we're going to test our plugin that we've just defined here, and we're going to alert out if it's working. So inside ext.js, I want to go ahead and test this, and I'm going to test this using all A tags. So the first thing we want to do in jQuery is obviously wait for the document to be ready, and inside here we create our function. So I want to apply this to all A tags, so I want to go ahead and use the selector to select all A, and now what I can do is, as opposed to using someone else's function or something part of the jQuery library, we can actually go ahead and call our own function, and that is target blank, and don't forget the parentheses as well. Okay, so now that we've done this, what should happen is inside here, obviously we've included plugin where we've defined our plugin, and here we're actually calling our plugin. This should just simply alert out working. So let's go ahead and refresh, and you can see that it just instantly alerts out working. Obviously there's no functionality to this, it's not what we want it to do, but now that we know that we've called it through ext.js here, we know that it actually works because we alerted something out. So if you do complete this process every time you go ahead and create a function or anything in jQuery, really, you'll know that something's working based on an event. In this case it was just to alert something out. So with regards to the actual plugin structure, now we've completed it, so we've essentially gone and created our jQuery plugin. However, we'll obviously go through and we'll learn a bit more about how this particular plugin works, and you might learn something along the way as opposed to actually creating a plugin yourself. So the first thing we want to go ahead and do is actually get the target of the current element. So in this case it's all A tags, so we want to go ahead and say var target, so we're creating a new variable called target, and inside of our plugin we can use this as we would normally in jQuery to reference the current element that this plugin has been appended to, or the element that's using this plugin. So we can use this, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and get the attribute target. So in this case what we can now do is alert out target, and we can start to see inside of our browser what kind of output we get based on what we've supplied as the target. Now at the moment the target is undefined, we haven't actually created a target to this, so when I refresh you can see we get this undefined message here, or this undefined result here. Now if I go ahead and actually add a target but leave it blank, you'll see that we get nothing, so we've got something blank. So now we're starting to think what we actually need to check for in order to modify this target attribute. And in here now I'm going to go ahead and use underscore blank, and that will just output underscore blank, and then obviously I can do the same for something like self, and when I refresh we get self. So we now know that what we want to do is we're checking for three things. First of all, we're checking if the target actually is undefined, or if the target is defined but equals nothing. But we also need a list of targets that we can supply in HTML, and then actually check these, and we're going to be creating them as an array. So the targets that we have, we're allowed to use, we're going to be putting these into an array and checking whether they equal it, and if they don't equal it, so for example if we'd supplied self here, we don't want to then go ahead and change this to blank if the user's defined it as self, which we will put into our array. So for now let's go ahead and just get rid of all of this. Inside plugin.js I'm going to get rid of this alert once again, and I'm going to go up here and I'm just going to define a target array. So we're going to create an array with potential targets that could be inside of here. Now there's 4 in total, and this doesn't include using a target to open something in an iframe, and we're not going to be taking that into account in this example. but if you are loading content into an iframe using a link and you are using this plugin, you might come across problems. So that's something to go ahead and look at yourself. So the 4 options we can have is, first of all, blank. Remember, we don't want to replace this with blank if the target already equals blank. So, you know, we don't want to go ahead and use any more processing power to change this if it already equals blank. We also don't want to change it if it equals self. And then again, the same with parent and top as well. So these are the potential values that target could be. So now that we have this, we can use the jQuery inArray function to actually check whether the target is inside of this target array. And if it's not inside the target array, we don't want to do anything. Okay, so now that we've done this, we'll go ahead and create an if statement, and we'll take into account the 3 issues that we came across. The first one being if this is undefined. So at the moment, in this current state, the target is undefined. So the first part of our condition is if target is equal to undefined. And obviously what we want to do here is apply target blank. So if the target is undefined, we want to apply the target underscore blank, because that's what the plugin does. However, we're going to use the OR operator to check 2 more things. The first one being that target is equal to nothing. So the first one, target undefined, is in this state as it is now. The second is if target is equal to nothing. So at the moment this is equal to nothing, and in this case if target equals nothing. Now we could be clever and we could say we want to trim this target value. So we'll go ahead and do that now. I hadn't planned to do it, but we can use jQuery.trim to trim the left hand and the right hand white space of the target.